along with you.
Meanwhile, I had I asked if I could take one course in commerce
Mm-hmm.
on the scholarship, and they let me do it.
Oh,
Yeah, and,
as my friend Diane would say, what's the worst they could do? Say no?
Well, while we were putting the new tape in, Aunt Lorraine mentioned that she's the first in her family to have gone to college. So I didn't want to skip that. And also, she was mentioning a little bit about her trip to Mexico. So if you don't mind repeating the Mexico part, I'd love to get that story on tape about
oh,
your trip to Mexico.
right. I had the new Ford, and I wanted to get to a foreign country. That was my objective.
You've been to Toronto, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. As a child, I was taken to Toronto. But anyhow, I drove and took a cousin, Margaret Mackenzie, and my sister Catherine, and my mother.
What year was the car? What year was the trip? Same year, no doubt. Do you remember?
No,
No. Were you out of, yeah, you were out of school already.
I must have been sure because I was teaching.
Mm-hmm. Were you teaching at night school before you graduated?
I think so. Yes, I was teaching shorthand and typing at night school.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that was what helped me through
Oh,
because the tuition seemed very high. It was like $100 a semester.
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I do
Heavens.
remember that figure.
Yes.
100 a semester.
So you bought a Ford with your earnings as a
Yes.
teacher,
Yes,
and you said it took only 2 weeks' pay
Pay.
to purchase the whole car.
I remember, yeah.
Incredible. It's incredible.
Different proportions.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, when you hear about an economy, you know, it's generalized, but believe me, things were very specific.
Well, now that I think of it, that must have been somewhere around 1935 or 36.
Well, I graduated from DePaul in 35,
So,
so it was 34 or 35.
Mhm.
so there might not have been very many people who could even pay that much for a Ford. Maybe the prices were low for a couple of years. I don't know though. I have no idea.
Were they
I-
500 about for a new car for a Ford?
I think it was around 500.
Okay.
And I know that I didn't have to sign any promissory note or anything, you know.
Well, not if you were paying cash.
So,
Right.
as a high school teacher, you earned $12,000 a year.
I don't remember.
Is that
it
what you
was.
just said, Joan?
Well, I thought you had said before that when you and Dad got married, you were bringing in $500 a week. Is that possible? And you should live on 50.
I don't remember
No,
that.
okay. I could be making it up then.
I wanted to ask you about my dad. Just the one question. My dad, Bill, what was he like as a child and a young man?
Well, I remember as a child he had one line to his older brothers and sisters, and the line was, "I can scream." I can scream. And here he was, you know, just a toddler practically. And that would give him control, pretty much.
Because your mom would come running?
Well, I don't remember anything after. I just remember the
That's
line
right.
and that we were terrified at it. Yeah, but Mother and I had, you know, I resented her and she resented me
Right.
as I grew up.
Yeah, it's hard to get past that mother-daughter thing.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
But did Uncle Bill come to you for help with schoolwork or
I don't remember
no?
any of that. No.
He always used to talk about how good you and Catherine were with money and with sharing the car. Like
Oh,
he would say, it wasn't really sharing. He would say, you know, can I fill your car up? And
Oh.
you'd say, yeah, down at the corner. And
Yeah.
he'd stop at Kankakee on the way.
Oh,
But he always talked so fondly of that,
Yeah.
of how wonderful you were to him.
That as a teenager, he could drive this new car.
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, you always talked too about Aunt Sis, and while she was working, and you were going to school
Yeah.
with much gratitude, wanted you.
Right. She never resented the fact she would give my mother her check, every check, and mother would give her back what she called spending money. And that went as long as I remember.
Hmm.
And I remember then when I got my first check, I said to mother, I'll split it 50-50. Fine, she said, fine, right away. And I don't remember Sis Catherine resenting me at all.
Was there a sense that you were headed for greater things or something?
I don't think so.
You weren't a
I
better
remember
student?
having that ambition in anything. I think just so I do better than Sis
Uh-huh.
with Catherine.
Yeah.
That was my objective.
That's a second child thing, right? A
Yeah.
younger sister thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see. Tell me a story about your life as a young mother with one or more children. I mean, I think in the original question I asked about your life when you had the 4 little toddlers.
Living
Oh.
on the second floor.
On Artesian, yeah.
Yeah, and 3 single elderly ladies downstairs.
Ah,
How old do you suppose they were now, Mom? Were they maybe as much as 60? Or
They could
65?
be. They seem very old to me.
Anyhow.
But I remember then I was upstairs with the toddlers running around.
Mhm.
And I remember them saying, oh, we know whenever we hear them, it's not going to last long. That I would stop them from
uh-huh,
running back and forth.
uh-huh. And you were able to?
Yes, yes.
Not the hot poker
No.
punishment.
Oh, I'll burn
She hardly
your
ever
head
rose to that that level of
off.
ire.
Yeah.
Was there a particular moment that you thought, this is all too much for me?
With
Raising all
mother?
those little kids? No, raising all your
Oh,
own little
oh.
kids.
Oh, no. I certainly remember that my faith had a lot to do with,
Tell me.
well, there was no birth control, certainly
Right.
of any kind.
Right.
And so Fred and Bob were a year and a half apart, and Tom another year and a half,
Mm-hmm.
and Mary Ann coming. We had 3 boys and then Mary Ann.
1947 was the year of the new baby, the new house. Was there a
Oh,
new car?
yes, when we moved in, yeah. We had a new car, and I remember someone saying, oh, a new car and a new something.
New
and,
house.
And a new baby, yeah. And a new house going up.
Was that the
half
house on
mile
Rasher?
away. Yes, but we lived on Artesian, and it was half mile
Uh-huh.
away.
Do you remember the address?
2815 Rasher, yeah.
Mhm.
But on Artesian.
How about Artesian?
Well, no, 22, something 22.
Would have been 57 maybe, or
Oh, I think it was 58. 5822 Artesian.
So you built
I
your own
guess.
house around the corner from?
Well, it was half mile away.
Okay.
And Fred left Lane every day at noon to check on the workmen on what they had done that day.
That was smart. Keep them working. Make sure they're there.
Yeah,
and then
right.
what he paid for.
Well, 1947, everyone must have been trying to build a house that year. I know the housing was very tight. Do you remember what the house cost?
No, I really don't.
Yeah.
$22,000, I think.
22?
And Dad had $17,000 in cash.
Wow.
Oh,
And
How-
paid off the $5,000 in 2 years. The
How,
mortgage.
wow. How had he saved that much? $17,000 is a big savings.
Yes. How did Dad save all that money, Mom?
I don't remember. I know it wasn't my doing. But I remember years and years later, him saying to me, you know, right, I really don't know anything about stocks and bonds. And it would be better if you had managed the money.
Hmm.
Yeah, this would have been in the 50s or the very early 60s, which
Yeah.
I personally find to be quite astonishing
Right.
that the man of the house.
That he would have recognized?
Yes.
And
Well, you had
allow.
a degree in commerce,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
and you were bringing in a lot of money when you married.
Right. Right.
Were you required to give up your job when you married?
No. No, there wasn't anything like that.
How did that transition happen? How did you decide not to work?
Well, the baby coming.
Okay.
You said you hid it, I thought.
Hid the
Hid
pregnancy?
the pregnancy for a while. Fred born in April previous. Let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, those first September must have been tough. I thought there was something about a cloakroom. I don't know if you would lay down in the cloakroom and have a little rest when the children were out. Or no, you didn't have little kids. You weren't teaching.
Yeah, she was in high school.
Well, never mind.
Oh.
I must have fabricated some story.
Tell me about adopting Jerry.
Well, you know, I remember the dad always believed that all women resented having children because his older sisters were very resentful. There were like 3 older sisters. And of course, they did all kinds of work with new babies.
Mm-hmm.
They were brothers and sisters.
And this is Fred's sisters, or
Yes, Fred's.
Okay.
Yeah. And now, when that changed, well, I can't.
Well, I know you said that you knew that if you adopted a baby, Dad couldn't feel that you resented it.
Oh,
Was part of it. That was part of the reason you looked into adopting Jerry, right?
right. But I can't remember the specifics.
Well,
I remember hearing the story when I was 10. You were driving us somewhere
Oh.
in Wisconsin.
Oh,
My sisters were in the car too. And you said you had fostered him. You were a foster parent for him? And then you decided to adopt. Joan, is this?
mm-hmm.
well, I know that to adopt, it was a formal thing. You know, you went through
Right,
interviews and all that. But a foster child you could have right away.
right.
And so they said, oh, you can come down and pick out a child. I said, I can't. I knew the emotional thing would be too much.
Sure.
You go, and not only you're adopting, but also for the babies that died. And 2 had died. So that baby came to welcoming arms, to say the least. But I know I didn't go to pick out at all. I couldn't.
But you had a girlfriend there, volunteering at the orphanage.
Oh yeah, Anna Mae Keegan. And she said later, they gave to Jerry. Lorraine was the most attractive baby in the
Aw.
place.
Well, not only that, surely, just given who he is today, he was a good baby, wasn't he?
Oh, right.
How old was he when he came?
He wasn't yet a year. He was like 10 months, I
Oh.
think.
Tiny.
Would it have been right at Christmas time? Since he was born the end of February. You've said he watched the other children, having been
Yeah.
segregated among children his own age.
Yeah,
At the orphanage.
In the orphanage. He was in a crib, in a room that had maybe 50 cribs in it. A baby in each one. And only one baby to a crib. And
So when he came to our house, there were an assortment of children in
Right.
view.
yeah, Oh. And it was so wonderful.
Aunt Lorraine, I remember part of the story was that you had to fight for him. Now, I don't remember why you had to fight, but you were telling us this
They were
story.
going to take him for
Yeah,
some
why were
reason.
they going to take him?
Well, because he was just placed, with us
As a
as a
foster
foster
child.
child.
Right.
Yeah. And of course, I was hoping that it would be permanent, but
His parents moved out of state, right?
yes, that's right.
Oh, and
They moved to Gary, and that put them in Indiana. And so according to the rules, then he should go to Indiana and be placed in a foster home there.
I see.
So we said right away, well, we really would like to have him. Oh, well, that was different.
Okay.
So-
Dad had sent back all the checks of
Yes,
support. For
yeah,
the
they
baby.
told us to accept the check, but to
Hold it aside.
donate it then and put in a note saying it was to be used for toys for African children or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you
So-
said that made a difference when you said you wanted to adopt him.
Right,
That they hadn't taken the money.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, you said when they called you have said you thought, well, I needed to be prepared for this,
Yeah,
and then what? What was your next thought after you hung
I'll
up the
fight.
phone? Yeah.
what would I do if someone called and said they were gonna take Fred or Bob? I'd fight. So I put on my gloves and didn't take much of a fight.
That's the part of the story I remember most when you were telling us when we were in the car. Because
Oh.
when you said, I'll fight, your foot went down on the gas and you started driving really fast. We were all enthralled with the
Oh.
story. Because we could
Oh.
imagine Jerry, was such a lovely cousin, as
Yeah.
a little baby, and you deciding to fight for him. We remember that moment fondly.
Ah,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah, we knew you liked babies, Mom. Whether Dad did or not.
You just referred to having lost 2 babies.
Yes.
Did you have a number of miscarriages?
Well, I think I would deliver like at 7 months or something like that. And then the baby would die. 2 of them two died, I know.
Was it a medical condition?
They discovered then that if the woman had low something during,
Folic acid.
oh yeah, folic acid, if your folic acid was low,
Mm-hmm.
that was a danger sign.
Mm-hmm.
And then the body would throw off the baby.
Reject the baby.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't preeclampsia, was it? Is this folic acid thing?
I don't think so. Because
She's-
that's, at the time the baby's being delivered, isn't it?
Well, you get it the last couple months, and I had it, and I remember Aunt Dorothy Morrow saying that she had it.
Oh, yeah, I remember Dorothy having.
Yeah.
Well, since they lost the baby. You know they lost a baby?
Yeah.
Mhm. The first, right? Margaret?
I don't,
Oh, you said before her first baby died, and Dad gave Grandma a ticket so she could go to Washington D.C. to be with Aunt Dorothy.
Yeah, Dad meaning Fred.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
How can I help?
He said, if you want to do something for your mother, Lorraine, get a round trip ticket to Washington. And I remember how relieved Mother was, and Dorothy too. It kind of cut into the tragedy
Mm-hmm.
and helped. And that Fred would figure that out was a big plus for Fred in my mind.
So Fred had 3 older sisters?
Yes,
Was one Dorothy? I remember Dorothy.
yeah, Dorothy she might have been a year or so younger than Fred.
Okay.
No, she was a year older.
Okay. All right, so it was Agnes and Frida, and then John.
And Anne.
Yeah. But John was a third. I remember they had a picture of the 3. the 2 girls and the baby boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ann and Dorothy shared a bed, so they must have been next to each other, and then Dad.
Who shared the
Ann
bed?
and Dorothy. And Dorothy always talked about sleeping in the bed with Aunt Ann, that they were close.
So
Oh.
Fred was the 5th or 6th?
6th,
6th, wow. Of 7?
11.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
You've missed out on a few.
Yeah.
I just remember Dorothy, she was my favorite.
Mhm.
Joan, are there any questions from that period that you want to ask? Because I'm about to skip to the 60s, and that's a lot of time.
Oh, well, I know how I came to be. Mom went to bed when she found out she was pregnant with me. And Ina came. Hmm?
Ina, oh, right, and
The
Ina
Swedish
took care of
housekeeper.
everything. She was a hard-working woman.
She was the housekeeper? And,
Yes.
And raised, or I suppose the other children were in school by then, because you were quite a bit younger, weren't you?
I'm 6 years younger than Jerry.
So they were all in school.
But Mom had lost a couple more babies in the intervening years.
Wow.
6 between Mary and me, and then 1 after me.
You know, I don't remember that.
Oh, well, that's good, Mom.
Yeah.
I guess my next question is about what values did you think were the most important to instill in the children when they were small? What do you think are the most important values for a child?
I really couldn't say. I'd have to really think back.
God first.
What?
God first.
Yes. I'm not shedding tears.
Oh,
I just have an itch in my eye.
Were there moments that you knew you were doing a good job as a parent? I mean, I'm sure there were millions of moments that you did, but is there a moment that you can think of where you thought, yeah, these kids are working, and these kids are coming up well?
I don't remember because it seemed to me as if I was always in the middle of a situation
Uh-huh.
and I couldn't raise my head far enough to look around.
ancillary to that, how about Mrs. Hilbert's coming over and looking in the door after you and Dad had left on vacation with at least 4 children? You remember that story?
No.
Oh, she called you and said, Lorraine, the house has been ransacked.
Oh, yes,
Lady across the street with no children, just a
Yeah.
very fine Swedish husband.
yeah.
And it was just from the packing debris?
Yes.
As she was telling me that, I remember thinking, I'm not sure it was ransacked. And I know we wanted to get away.
You wanted to get out of the house before Uncle John would call and tell Dad he couldn't go, I believe you said.
Oh,
His business partner.
yeah. And John would be capable of that.
Was he the bossy brother?
Yes, indeed.
The older brother till the end.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But he had a good head on him. He was better at business, I think, than Dad was.
But Dad wasn't running out to go on vacation either,
No, indeed.
in spite of whatever pressure might have been on him domestically.
I remember, what was it when, it had something to do with the art. What year was it that these paintings went to Rome for the exhibit? And
I'm not sure of the year. I know that my painting, Mr. Cullen painted me in 1959, and I thought that was after, right?
yeah,
That was after the exhibit in Rome.
yeah.
Why were you so interested in art, Mom? Why did you want to keep Mr. Cullen painting?
Oh, I saw the sun spinning when I went to pick up a paint. he had an apartment that was close to Sheridan Road, and you could look out over the lake. And somehow or other, I know I saw the sun spinning, at least it looked to me like it was spinning.
And you asked this is Mary Cassatt, pardon me. This isn't one of Mr. Collins. But this one is, isn't it? Is
Yes.
that the Nativity?
I think so.
So what did you commission? You commissioned, it was Mary Jane McHugh's brother, right?
Yes,
Bernard Cullen.
right.
And I have a little information about him too.
Good. Good.
Just a little. So, was that after the first painting that you saw the sun spin?
I know, I went to pick up the painting, that was it, and his wife resented the fact that he had charged so little.
25, the painting? Was that the?
I don't remember that, but I remember that she said she would put the painting outside the door. This was in a 2-flat or 3-flat, and that I could come upstairs and pick it up.
And carry it yourself.
Yeah, and not even see her face to face. Just pick up the painting. So I certainly wasn't paying her anything. But, yeah, I had to carry it down. And I was feeling so rejected, and I look up and there's the sun spinning
Mm.
in the sky.
So you asked a priest then about it, didn't you?
Yeah, I said, what do I do? He said, keep him painting. That's what you do. I was saying, how do I thank the Lord for seeing a miracle in the sky? He said, oh, you keep him painting. That's what you do.
So you asked him to paint a few more
Yes,
paintings?
yeah, and they're here.
Wonderful.
And when did the idea of sending them on exhibit arise?
Well, there was a priest coming here to invite the cardinal to come to Rome for it was going to be a climax of something they called the Marian Year.
That was 1950 then, wasn't it?
I don't know that.
Okay. You lived in the house.
Yeah. So now I mixed up.
Okay. Well, how did you come to commission a series of paintings to go to Rome? Because that isn't usually in, this
Yeah,
ordinary housewife's.
List of things to do,
Yes.
especially when she has 6 children.
Mm-hmm.
well, there weren't 6 at that time.
Only 4. Hardly had to lift a finger now. But anyhow. So the cardinal was going to Rome, you said?
And they sent a priest to invite him. They didn't trust the mail or whatever. And so while he was here, I don't remember how I got.
Oh.
He came to our house, I think. And then he said, I want to meet this man who did these paintings.
Oh.
Hard.
Did you have the paintings were hanging in the house by then?
I don't think so.
No?
I don't really remember.
Might have been related to the miracle
Wow.
that they were interested to know more about what had.
But I didn't tell anybody.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Okay.
Oh,
You're
I wouldn't
confessing.
dare. It would have cleared the whole thing.
No.
You say she's nuts.
That's not the only miracle you witnessed, right? I'm thinking back to that car trip that we were with you on, and you spoke of having seen, I'm sorry I don't remember the details, but you had seen Mary, I believe?
Well, up at Nisita? Did you see the Blessed
Nisita,
Virgin?
yeah, I remember Nisita, but I don't remember ever seeing the Blessed Virgin.
Oh, okay.
Well, you had something that went on about if you would just turn around, you would see the Blessed Virgin. Wasn't there something about that?
Yeah, a voice said, what are you, Lorraine, a sun worshiper standing here gazing at the sun while the mother of Christ is in back. Now, I remember those words
Mm-hmm.
carefully. Yeah, what are you, Lorraine? A sun worshiper? Standing here gazing at the sun.
Because the sun was spinning, right?
Yeah. While the mother of Christ is in back of you, why don't you turn around? And I remember thinking, well, I never saw a miracle before, and now I get this crazy idea I should turn away from it. And then the second time the voice said, what might God not do for one who would turn her back on a miracle out of respect for his mother? So that was a different way of looking at it,
Mhm.
of course, to me. So I remember turning around.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Did you see Mary then?
No,
No.
no, never. I would have liked that, of course.
Of course.
Where was the place? Where were you when that happened? And how old were you?
Well, the first paintings were in 1950.
Well, you went to Necedah. 1950 was a Marian year, and you went on the train with Grandma
Yeah,
up to Necedah. Is that when the voice spoke to you? Do you remember?
I really can't.
No. You also spoke about a dream that you had where you saw the final judgment, as I recall, with offerings going up to the Almighty, and then inspiration coming down, and everyone being happy when someone was inspired. You're not remembering this?
No, I don't.
And you had said before, you thought, what do I have to offer? And that was when you decided to take Jerry, to take a baby. What
Oh,
do I have to offer? Oh, my children. No, those are my gifts to you.
oh,
You don't remember this one? I thought this was
just snatches of it.
another day you'll remember it.
What year was it that you adopted Jerry? Was it
1950.
50?
Mm-hmm.
This was a very important year. The paintings, the sun spinning twice, possibly, that year.
She's seen it spin other times too.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Kate's wedding.
Yeah,
Not mine.